When the alien doctor scanned my DNA, she didn't gasp because it was strange. She went pale because it was familiar. In a galaxy where royal blood is encrypted, guarded, and impossible to fake, my human genome lit up like a forgotten crown, and the queen herself froze. The first thing I noticed about the Imperial Medical Wing was that it smelled like citrus and impending judgment. I had expected something colder, perhaps metallic, perhaps humming ominously like every advanced alien facility in the cautionary documentaries back home. Instead, the floor glowed with a soft inner light, and the air carried the faint scent of something that reminded me of oranges contemplating philosophy. "Please remain still," the doctor said. I was already still, extremely still. The kind of stillness one achieves when surrounded by guards wearing armor that appears to be woven from condensed starlight. The doctor stood across from me, tall and composed. At first glance she could have passed for human: 2 eyes, symmetrical features, the general arrangement of limbs in all the expected places. But her skin was a rich, luminous purple, as though twilight itself had decided to specialize in medicine. Long ears extended elegantly from the sides of her head, tapering backward in graceful arcs that moved subtly when she spoke, like punctuation marks made of living silk. Her blonde hair fell over one shoulder in a smooth cascade, catching the sterile light. "You are comfortable?" she asked. "I've been abducted by an interstellar empire and escorted into a glowing room by soldiers with laser spears," I said. "This is the most comfortable I've been all week." Her ears twitched. I chose to interpret that as amusement. "This is a routine genomic compatibility scan," she said. "As a newly registered interstellar citizen, your biological profile must be cataloged." "Of course," I said. "Wouldn't want to accidentally marry royalty without the proper paperwork." She did not respond to that. Instead, she gestured, and the examination platform rose from the floor like a polite ghost. It shaped itself to my body before I had the chance to protest, cradling me in a field of faintly humming energy. "Do not move," she said again. "I plan to panic internally," I assured her. "Externally, I'll be very professional." Above me, a lattice of light unfolded. Holographic filaments descended in slow spirals, weaving through the air until they surrounded me in a shimmering cocoon of data. Symbols streamed across translucent panels, complex sigils and mathematical constructs far beyond my pay grade. The doctor moved her hands through the projections, adjusting parameters with precise gestures. Her long fingers traced lines of code that responded instantly, rearranging into new patterns. A faint glow pulsed from beneath my skin as the scanner engaged, mapping every cell. "You have an unusual mitochondrial configuration," she murmured. "I get that a lot." She ignored me. The hum deepened, shifting into a lower frequency that I felt more in my bones than in my ears. The holographic strands thickened, forming a three-dimensional model of my genome above my chest. It rotated slowly, a luminous double helix unfurling like a cosmic staircase. "Fascinating," she whispered. I craned my neck. "Is that good fascinating, or we need to call security fascinating?" She froze. The model had begun to change. At first, I thought it was simply zooming in. Then I saw the additional structures, intricate geometric nodes embedded within the strands, glowing with a gold-white intensity distinct from the rest of the projection. They were not random mutations. They formed a repeating sequence, precise and symmetrical. The doctor's hands hovered in the air. She did not blink. "Doctor," I said carefully, "you've gone very still. I feel like this is the part in the movie where someone says, 'That's impossible.'" She recalibrated the scanner without answering. The hum cut out abruptly, then resumed at a higher pitch. The model flickered, dissolved, and reassembled. The golden nodes remained, her ears angled backward slightly. "This cannot be correct," she murmured. "Try turning me off and on again," I offered. "I hear that works for most human issues." She shot me a look that could have sterilized equipment. The projection expanded, magnifying one of the glowing markers. Symbols flared around it, ancient characters spiraling outward in concentric rings. Even without understanding the language, I felt the shift in the room. The air grew heavier, charged. The door at the far end of the chamber opened with a whisper of displaced air. I had not heard anyone approach. The guards entered first, silent and precise. Then she followed. The queen did not need introduction. Authority seemed to bend slightly toward her, as though gravity had reconsidered its priorities. Her skin bore the same royal shade of violet as the doctor's, though deeper, richer. A circlet of living metal rested upon her brow, faintly luminous. Her long ears were adorned with delicate chains that chimed softly when she moved. "What has occurred?" she asked. Her voice was calm, too calm. The doctor swallowed. "Your Majesty, the human's genomic scan has revealed an anomaly." I raised a hand from the energy cradle. "I prefer feature." No one acknowledged that. The projection shifted so that the queen could see. The golden markers flared brighter, reacting perhaps to her proximity. Symbols rearranged themselves into a configuration that even I could recognize as significant. The queen stepped closer. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the color drained from her face. It was subtle, a slight paling beneath the violet hue, a tightening at the corners of her eyes, but it was there. "That sequence," she said softly. The doctor nodded once. "Yes, Your Majesty." I glanced between them. "I'm going to need more than dramatic silence." The queen extended her hand into the hologram. The golden markers responded instantly, pulsing in synchronized rhythm. A faint harmonic tone filled the chamber, resonant and pure. "That is not possible," she whispered. I cleared my throat. "Statistically speaking, I do a lot of impossible things. I once assembled furniture without the instructions." Her gaze snapped to me, sharp as a blade. "Those markers are sovereign identifiers. They are encoded exclusively within the royal bloodline." I blinked. There are moments in life when your brain attempts to process information and instead chooses to reboot. This was one of them. "I'm sorry," I said slowly. "Are you suggesting I'm, what, distantly related to you?" The doctor answered instead. "Not distantly." The projection shifted again, tracing the lineage pathways embedded in my DNA. Lines of light connected my genome to an abstract model of theirs, mapping convergence points with terrifying precision. "The encryption is intact," she said. "The quantum seals are unbroken. This sequence cannot be fabricated or replicated." The queen's composure cracked for the briefest instant. Her long ears dipped slightly, betraying something dangerously close to fear. "How many know of this?" she asked. "Only those present," the doctor replied. "Good." I lifted my head as far as the energy field allowed. I feel like I should be clapping or fainting, which is appropriate. Neither option seemed welcome. The queen circled the platform slowly, studying me as though I were a puzzle piece that had fallen from the wrong box. "Humans were surveyed centuries ago," she said. "Primitive, chaotic, biologically unremarkable." "Hey," I said. Her eyes returned to the projection. "Yet here you are, carrying the genetic signature of my house." The golden nodes pulsed again, brighter this time. For a split second I felt something stir beneath my skin, a warmth, like distant starlight remembered. The doctor adjusted the display, isolating the royal sequence. Ancient sigils spiraled outward, forming a crest I recognized from banners in the palace corridors. My mouth went dry. "I promise," I said carefully. "I did not steal any royal DNA. I barely passed high school biology." The queen did not smile, but something in her expression shifted, curiosity threading through alarm. "There are only 3 explanations," she said. "Clerical error, catastrophic malfunction, or history has lied to us." The doctor's voice was barely audible. "The scanner has been recalibrated 3 times. There is no malfunction." Silence settled over the chamber, thick and electric. I lay there, suspended in alien technology, staring at a hologram that insisted I belonged to an interstellar dynasty. "Well," I said at last, "on the bright side, if I am royalty, I assume this medical visit is now complimentary. One of the guards made a sound that might have been a suppressed cough. The Queen's gaze lingered on me, searching for something, deceit, perhaps, or destiny. "Seal this chamber," she ordered quietly. "No data leaves without my authorization." The doors slid shut. The golden markers continued to glow above me, steady and undeniable. And for the first time since stepping onto this station, I had the uncomfortable sensation that the galaxy was no longer observing me as a curiosity. It was recognizing me. They did not let me go back to my assigned diplomatic quarters. Instead, I was escorted, politely, which is to say surrounded on all sides by extremely armed individuals, to a chamber that was neither a cell nor quite a guest suite. The walls shimmered faintly, responsive to biometric signals. The air temperature adjusted itself every few seconds, as if the room could not decide whether I preferred mildly tropical or thoughtfully refrigerated. "I would like to register a complaint," I told the nearest guard. "If I'm secretly royalty, this Dacre is underwhelming." He stared straight ahead. His armor reflected my distorted face back at me in curved fragments. "Strong, silent type," I muttered. "Classic." The door slid open without warning. The doctor entered first. Her long purple silhouette cut through the room's soft light, blonde hair tied back this time, revealing the full, elegant sweep of her ears. Behind her floated 3 spherical drones projecting layered holographic interfaces. Data streamed between them in silent cascades. "You are not under arrest," she said immediately. That is the most suspicious reassurance I have ever received. She ignored that and gestured. The room responded by forming a circular table of hard light between us. Above it, my genome reappeared, rotating slowly, the golden sovereign markers glowing with steady defiance. "We have initiated a full imperial review," she said. "The high archivists have been summoned." "That sounds expensive," I replied. "Should I contribute?" Her ears angled slightly forward. I was beginning to suspect that ear positioning was their version of facial expressions. "The royal genetic signature is layered with quantum encryption," she continued. "Each marker is entangled with a reference key stored within the central palace core. Only members of the royal lineage can activate resonance." And I activated resonance. Yes. Is there a loyalty card involved? Because I feel like I've earned points. One of the drones emitted a faint chirp, projecting additional layers of data. Lines extended from my genome outward, linking to a second holographic structure, an abstract lattice labeled in their script. Even without translation, I understood what I was looking at. The imperial bloodline. The connections were not faint. They were precise, clean intersections of light, as if someone had drawn them with deliberate intent. The doctor moved her fingers through the projection, isolating one of the convergence points. "This segment corresponds to House Averial's primary succession branch." "That's you," I said. "That is the Queen's house," she corrected softly. Before I could reply, the chamber lights dimmed. The air shifted, carrying that same subtle citruscent authority sent from before. The Queen entered without entourage this time. That unsettled me more than the guards had. Her circlet glowed faintly as she approached the table of light. She studied the projection in silence. The golden markers pulsed once, synchronized as though acknowledging her presence. "You have verified entanglement?" she asked. "Yes, Your Majesty," the doctor replied. Triple-checked across independent cores. The human's markers resonate with the palace key at 99.999% alignment. "Nothing in biology is that precise," I said, "except maybe caffeine addiction." The Queen's gaze shifted to me. There was less shock in it now, more calculation. "Humans are not part of our recorded expansion lineage," she said. "Our explorers cataloged your world centuries ago. No genetic exchange was authorized." "Authorized," I repeated. "You make it sound like someone needed to file paperwork before falling in love." Silence followed that, not the irritated kind, the thoughtful kind. The Queen's fingers hovered over the hologram. There were sealed expeditions, she said slowly. Branches of the royal family assigned to diplomatic observation beyond council oversight. The doctor's eyes widened slightly. The exiled initiative. I thought that was a myth, she added quickly. So did we, the Queen replied. The drones reconfigured, pulling up archival records. Most were redacted, entire sections replaced with solid blocks of imperial script. A handful of entries flickered into visibility, dates older than most human civilizations, star systems mapped and then erased. One entry expanded at the Queen's gesture. Expedition 7A Sol Perimeter Observation. I blinked. Sol, that's us. Yes, the doctor said. The record was fragmented. A royal vessel dispatched under private authority, a small crew, a genetic compatibility study initiated without council sanction. Compatibility study? I asked. That sounds romantic and medically invasive at the same time. The Queen's jaw tightened. The file indicates personal involvement of a succession-eligible heir. And then, I prompted. And then, the doctor said quietly, the record ends. I leaned back in my chair. Let me summarize. Centuries ago, one of your royals came to Earth. They ran some unauthorized compatibility studies. Then all records disappeared. And now I show up glowing like a galactic heirloom. That is an inelegant summary, the Queen said. Accurate, though. She did not answer. The golden markers flared brighter, reacting to the heightened emotional field in the room. The hum returned, deeper this time, resonant enough that I felt it in my chest. The doctor tapped another interface. There is more. The markers within your genome are not dormant relics. They are adaptive. Adaptive how? They are integrating. With what? With you. That did not sound reassuring. She magnified one of the sequences. It had begun extending microscopic filaments into adjacent strands of human DNA, weaving itself more thoroughly into my biological framework. Are you saying I'm mutating? I asked. No, she said. You are stabilizing. Into what? The Queen stepped closer. Into something our ancestors anticipated. I exhaled slowly. I preferred being statistically unremarkable. A soft sound escaped the doctor, almost a laugh. Humans are rarely unremarkable. Finally, I said, recognition. The chamber doors slid open again, admitting a cluster of elderly aliens in layered ceremonial robes. Their ears were longer, adorned with intricate metalwork. They carried crystalline tablets that projected shifting scripts. The High Archivists, the doctor murmured. One of them peered at me over the rim of his tablet. This is the human. I'm right here, I said, and yes, I moisturize. He ignored that and focused on the projection. His eyes widened incrementally as he traced the royal markers. This signature was believed extinguished, he said hoarsely. The sovereign branch sealed after the fracture. The fracture, I repeated. I'm beginning to dislike the capitalization in your history. The Queen's expression hardened. The fracture was an internal schism, a division over succession purity. An heir chose exile rather than compliance, and took their DNA with them, I said softly. The archivist nodded. The records imply genetic dispersal beyond imperial jurisdiction. I raised a hand. Hypothetically speaking, if that heir had children on Earth, what would that mean? It would mean, the doctor said carefully, that the royal line was never truly extinguished. The room seemed to contract around that statement. One of the archivists tapped his tablet. If the human carries primary branch markers, he is not a distant cousin. No, the Queen said quietly, he would be direct descent. Every head in the chamber turned toward me. I spread my hands. I swear I did not plan this. The golden sigils shifted again, forming a crest more elaborate than before. A harmonic tone filled the air, resonating with the circlet on the Queen's brow. For a fleeting instant, a bridge of light connected the projection to her crown. The room gasped as one. That resonance only occurs between sovereign signatures, an archivist whispered. I looked at the Queen. She looked at me. This is absurd, I said weakly. I can't even manage my own bank account. You expect me to manage an empire." No one laughed. The doctor stepped closer to me, lowering her voice. "You must understand. If this is confirmed publicly, factions will react. Some will see you as a threat, others as salvation." "I was hoping for mild curiosity," I admitted. Her ears softened forward slightly. "I do not believe you seek power." "I seek a sandwich," I said, "and perhaps a return flight home." The Queen straightened, reclaiming her composure like armor. "Until we determine the full truth, this matter remains contained. The human will remain under protection." "Protection?" I echoed. "Yes," she said, "from those who would use you. And from those who would eliminate uncertainty," the doctor added quietly. I swallowed. The archivists continued murmuring among themselves, debating ancient clauses and succession algorithms. Words like claim, inheritance, and legitimacy floated through the air like unstable particles. I stared at the holographic genome, at the golden markers that pulsed with patient certainty. "Can I ask something?" I said. The Queen inclined her head. "If your lost heir chose exile over compliance, what were they refusing?" A long silence followed. Finally, she answered. "They refused to let the Empire dictate who they were allowed to love." The room went still. I glanced down at my glowing DNA and let out a slow breath. "Well," I said quietly, "that sounds like a very human decision." For the first time since this began, the Queen's lips curved, just barely. "Yes," she said, "it does." They moved me to the highest level of the Citadel. Apparently, if you might be royal, you at least get a better view. The chamber overlooked the curve of the planet below, its oceans reflecting the distant sun in fractured silver. Ships drifted in silent formation around the station like patient predators pretending to be decor. The doors sealed behind me with a soft harmonic tone, and this time there were no visible guards. That was somehow worse. The doctor stood near the panoramic field, her purple skin luminous against the stars, blonde hair unbound and falling freely down her back. Her long ears tilted toward the sound of my footsteps. "You are not restrained," I observed. "You are not a prisoner," she replied. "That remains debatable." She almost smiled. "The council is convening. The matter cannot be contained any longer." "Ah," I said, "the dramatic public reveal portion of the evening." She turned toward me, her expression softer than I had seen before. "Are you afraid?" I considered the question. A few days ago, my biggest concern had been whether Earth's diplomatic stipend covered alien street food. Now ancient sovereign markers were glowing in my DNA like they had been waiting for applause. "Yes," I admitted, "but mostly I'm afraid I'll say something inappropriate in front of your entire civilization." "You will," she said calmly. "You are human." That's reassuring. The chamber doors opened again. The Queen entered alone. No circlet this time. Her long ears were bare, unadorned, and somehow that made her seem more powerful, not less. "The Council demands clarity," she said without preamble. "So do I. I'd also appreciate some," I replied. She approached the central platform. The floor responded, projecting the now familiar holographic lattice of my genome. The golden sovereign markers pulsed steadily. "We have accessed the final sealed archive," she said. The doctor inhaled sharply. "The primary vault." "Yes." The projection shifted. A recording flickered into existence above the lattice, a figure materializing in ghostly light. A woman. Her skin bore the same royal violet hue, though softer, less formal. Her ears were long and elegant, adorned with simple rings. Her blonde hair was braided loosely over one shoulder. Her eyes held the kind of resolve that reshapes history quietly. "My name is Sarilith Averial," the recording said, "firstborn of the sovereign line." The Queen closed her eyes briefly. "She was the lost heir," the doctor whispered. Sarilith's image continued. "If you are viewing this, then my decision has borne fruit." I felt my pulse quicken. "The Council demanded genetic isolation," Sarilith said. "They feared dilution, feared vulnerability, feared love beyond our species." She smiled faintly. I found such fear small. The projection shifted, showing a star map rotating slowly until it settled on Saul. I chose exile, not for rebellion, for preservation. Her image leaned forward slightly. Our line is powerful not because it dominates, but because it adapts, because it connects. I traveled to a young world, violent, fragile, extraordinary. I swallowed. I found in humanity a resilience our empire had forgotten. I chose to intertwine our lineage, not to conquer, to ensure that no council could ever again declare love illegal. Silence filled the chamber. I encoded our sovereign markers within my descendants, she continued. Quantum sealed, dormant, waiting for a time when the Empire would need reminding of who we are. Her gaze seemed to find me through centuries of distance. If you carry this sequence, then you are proof that the bloodline survived not through purity, but through courage. The recording faded. The holographic lattice remained, golden markers glowing with quiet certainty. I let out a slow breath. Well, I said softly, family reunions are going to be awkward. The Queen's composure wavered for a heartbeat, then steadied. She defied the council, she said, and I have upheld that council's doctrine for my entire reign. You didn't know, I said. I should have questioned, she replied. The doctor stepped forward. Your Majesty, the markers have fully stabilized. We all looked. The golden filaments were no longer weaving uncertainly. They were integrated, harmonized with the surrounding human DNA. Not overtaking it, not replacing it, simply coexisting. She was right, the doctor whispered. The sequence activates only when proximity to the palace core reaches threshold. It was never meant to dominate, only to resonate. The chamber doors opened again. This time the council entered. Rows of robed figures, their ears adorned with status medals, eyes sharp with centuries of political survival. Murmurs rippled as they saw the projection. The human, one of them said, as though testing the word for structural weakness. The descendant, another corrected quietly. I raised a hand. Hello, I promise I don't bite, much. A few startled glances flickered my way. The Queen stepped to the center. You have seen the archive. Yes, the eldest counselor replied. A romantic transgression. A strategic salvation, the doctor countered. The counselor's gaze snapped to her. The bloodline was fragmented. And preserved, she shot back. The chamber's ambient light dimmed as tension spiked, responding to emotional fluctuations like a nervous system. I cleared my throat. May I asked. Every eye turned to me again. I resisted the urge to faint for dramatic effect. I'm not here to claim a throne, I said. I didn't even know I had distant galactic relatives until recently. I grew up on a planet that can barely agree on pizza toppings. A few counselors blinked, confused. My point, I continued, is that if your lost heir chose humanity, she didn't do it because we were perfect. She did it because we're stubborn. We survive things. We adapt. We argue loudly and then build something anyway. The golden markers pulsed softly, as if in agreement. She didn't weaken your line, I said. She made it impossible to erase. Silence settled. The eldest counselor studied the projection, then me. If you do not seek succession, what do you seek? I thought about that. A week ago, I would have said a safe return ticket and maybe a book deal. Now, I seek partnership, I said slowly. Not as a ruler, as proof. If your empire is afraid of change, then I'm living evidence that change didn't destroy you. It expanded you. The Queen's gaze softened. You would remain as liaison. She asked. Ambassador of awkward family history, I corrected. A faint ripple of restrained amusement passed through the chamber. The doctor stepped beside me, her shoulder almost brushing mine. The genetic resonance can be shared, she said. A symbolic integration, acknowledgement that the royal line extends beyond species. The council murmured again. You would dilute ceremony, one protested. No, the Queen said firmly. We would redefine it. She stepped forward and extended her hand toward the hologram. The golden markers flared. I hesitated only a second before placing my own hand within the projection. Light bridged between us. not overwhelming, not violent. Warm, resonant. The circlet materialized above her brow once more, but it glowed differently now, interlaced with threads of gold-white light matching the sovereign markers within me. The harmonic tone filled the chamber, steady and balanced. The council fell silent. "It is done," the eldest counselor whispered. "Not coronation, recognition." The light faded gradually, leaving the genome projection stable and quiet. I looked at my hand. No glowing veins, no sudden telepathic powers, slightly disappointing. "So," I said lightly, "does this come with a dental plan?" This time several counselors actually laughed. The Queen turned to me. "You will remain on the Citadel as official envoy between our—" You arrived defensive, suspicious, ready to run. That was a solid plan. And now, I looked out at the planet below, at the ships orbiting in quiet formation. Now I think running would waste a perfectly good interstellar inheritance. She stepped beside me close enough that our shoulders touched. "Welcome to the family," she said softly. I smiled. "Let's try to make it a functional one." Below us the Empire adjusted its course, not through conquest or decree, but through acknowledgement. And for the first time since stepping into that citrus-scented medical chamber, I no longer felt like an accident in someone else's story. I felt like a bridge between them.